what a lot of people do, and we've seen two prime examples just recently, a guy has a complete board that he's sending the Gerbers over and the fab drawing, and he's asking to get a stack up. Wrong answer. Can't
Why?
be, because it probably can't be built. We're doing take two on horror stories, and this time we're sticking to stack-ups.
We are sticking to stack-ups.
Stack-up.
So, okay, hi Greg.
That would be me.
Welcome to episode number 2 of PCB Design Horror Stories. And okay, now I'm gonna ask you a question.
Shoot.
What is the most common stack-up mistake that you see or that you know of?
Probably the worst thing is if they're doing HDI, you know, where they got blind and buried vias through the board and they don't understand how they're stacked together and how they manufacture it. So then they ask for a drill between two layers that can't be done. So let's go to a 10-layer board and say, and the engineer will come back and say, I need a via from layer 4 to 5. That's non-manufacturable without doing, you know, 4 to 5, 2 to 3, 3 to 5, and so now you're looking at a 21-day build, very expensive board. So blind and buried vias have to follow a pattern. So there's a 1 to 2, which is after the final lamination. If you need to get from 2 to 3, they laminate 2 to 7, and then they drill 2 to 3 and then put layer 1 on. It takes 3 days to put layer 1 on. If you needed to get to board layer 4, they're going to laminate 3 to 6 or whatever it is, and then do a laser drill from 3 to 4, fill it, flatten it, and put layer 2 on. That's 3 days. Then they drill layer 2 to 3, fill it, flatten it, plate it, do all those things, and then they put layer 1 on. It takes another 3 days. So you can see it gets expensive very fast. But it's a 1, 2, 3 to that. In your layout tool, a lot of times the tool lets you build a via from 1 to 3 or 1 to 4. There is no such thing as a via from 1 to 3. You can do it, and it's fine, and your drill chart can say 1 to 3, but the fab house cannot do a 1 to 3. They will take that 1 to 3 and make it a 1 to 2 and a 2 to 3. Perfectly fine, totally acceptable. You don't have to have a 1 to 2 and then put in a 2 to 3. You can actually do a 1 to 3, and the fab house is smart enough to know that's what's going to happen. One thing I do on most of the layouts I do that have HDI is off to the top right-hand corner of the board. Off the board, I'll run my full stack up. So I'll have a via from 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, top to bottom, all of that. So I know what drill sizes they are, what drill symbols they are, how to identify them. So if I'm over someplace and I go, well, I need this via, I can go over and grab that stack that I need and pull it into the board. Just a fancy, fast way to deal with HDI and keeping track of where stuff is, where layers are. But yeah, you can't ask for vias in the center. Kind of another way to approach it is what we call a core via. So you may want a core via that goes from 4 to 6, or on more layer boards, you know, 4 to 10, you know, on a thicker board with more layers, and they will laminate that and drill it, and then just keep adding on foil on up to get your 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 2 to 4, but the core via. Also, a trick one that we do at times is you can actually, if you have a 16-layer board or whatever, you can actually make 2 8-layer boards. So you do, you know, it could be a 1 to 8, or you could be HDI and go 1 to 2 to blah, blah, blah. Then you do another 8-layer board and then laminate the 2 boards together and drill a via from layer 1 to 16. There's places that's handy. Sometimes can be cheaper because instead of doing laser vias, not laser vias, blind and buried vias, you can actually do a through-hole via from 1 to 8 and another board, it's 8 layers, a through-hole via from 9 to 16. And so those are cheap boards because they're just one lamination with one drill. But the drills don't go all the way through the board. But then you always have a few vias and mounting holes, things like that do go, so you can put those boards together. Another trick to not have a via go all the way through the board by making 2 boards and putting them together. They generally need to be balanced. You know, it's 8 and 8, but you could do 4 and 12 to make a 2-layer board. But you better understand that and make sure and pass it by the fab house and say, is this going to work for what I'm trying to do? It's a way to also do HDI. On a standard board, kind of back up to a real simple board, you know, like an 8-layer board, there's cores and prepregs. cores are what, and the cores are the same thing in HDI boards, but the core is what we buy as a company. So we'll buy a layer 1 to 2, not a 1 to 2, a 2-layer core that'll be ½ ounce, quarter ounce, 1 ounce, 4 ounce, whatever, and then the Z-axis spacing on layer 2 to 3 is a constant good spacing, because that's what we purchased. The board's already been pressed and all of that, and those can come in 3, 4, 5, 6, however thick, random, not every single mil, but yeah, so any thickness that you want, and that's where you want to put your controlled impedance traces. So if board layer 2 is a ground plane and your board layer 3's got controlled impedances, the distance from layer 2 to 3, the reference plane, is a good constant. So that's a good place to put it, and then layer 4 becomes another ground plane. So those are the cores. So most boards are the drilled top to bottom is 2 to 3 is a core, 4 to 5 is a core, that kind of a thing, and then layer 1 is a foil. So they grab just a bare sheet of foil, no prepreg, no nothing on it, just foil, copper, and laminate that to the board. And then they drill top to bottom for a 8-layer board or 10-layer board. The same kind of thing for a 2-layer board is a single core that's 59 thick or whatever, and it now becomes a 62 thick board.
Okay, I have a question.
Shoot.
When do you have to start thinking about the stack-up design during the PCB development? Like, is it right at the beginning or in the middle of the layout?
Simple question, all three.
What do you mean?
The board I'm working on right now is a test fixture board. It's a round board, and we don't know if we need 12 layers or 16 layers to get it all hooked up, because it's got lots of powers, lots of things going lots of places. So, and we have connectors that are through hole, but their pins can't go through a board that's thicker than 94. So we need to work at where's the placement, how many planes we're going to need, how we're going to get this thing routed so we can see how thick the board's going to be, how we're going to do a stack up. Maybe instead of having 1 ounce copper planes, we need ½ ounce copper planes to keep the board thinner, a bunch of little things. So in that case, we're actually trying to do part of the layout so we can get the answers of what the stack up is. You don't want to get the stack up done first, because then you may say, I need to add layers. You may not do this or this and that. But it needs to be done somewhere, correct, and everything else. A lot of times you can do quite a bit of the layout and then get a stack up. But don't do what a lot of people do, and we've seen 2 prime examples just recently. A guy has a complete board that he's sending the Gerbers over and the fab drawing, and he's asking to get a stack up. Wrong answer. Can't
Why?
be, because it probably can't be built, because it can't get a stack up to do what he's asking it to do. One horror story was we had the same guy do, not same guy, same thing. A guy had completely designed an entire board, and it had fine pitch quad packs on it, so it was fine design, stuff like that, small vias, all that junk. But it needed 50 amps in portions of the board with a peak amperage of 188 amps. And he was completely designed the board, took months, and now he wants a stack up. Well, number one, you basically can't build a board like that, because you can't put vias and things close together and 4 ounce copper and all that other stuff. But he didn't understand how the boards were built, didn't understand the stack up, didn't understand what it takes to do 50 amps on a board, and just followed regular design rules, and then said, "Can you give me a stack up so I can get 50 amps?" So we worked everything for a couple of weeks, and he finally went away, because I think he had to start over and make 2 boards. One power board that can handle the 50 amps, and one small board that's handling the the ICs and the chips and that kind of stuff. Yeah. So back to your question, when do you do the stack up? You continually massage the stack up, think of the stack up all the way through. When you first start, how many controlled impedances do I have? What are they? Do I have 100 ohm, 90 ohm, 50 ohm, that type of thing? How many layers? How many of them? How much routing I'm going to need? When I can get them all on 2 layers, or do I need 6 layers? And so you kind of have to think through and then make your best guess, and then I'm going the right way, we're good, and then recheck the stack up. But at some point you have to really truly verify that what you're doing is the layout. Yeah. So back to the statement I always say, however long you think the project should last to lay out, take at least 50% of that time figuring out what to do, and don't do a damn thing. So if you think you can get it done in 2 weeks, spend 1 full week not placing or routing a single thing. Make sure the bomb's right, make sure the schematic's right, make sure you understand where the stack up, where the traces are going to go, what the mounting holes, all of that. That takes 50% of the project because it's really, really simple to route and place. And the tool, if it's a Lego or Alteon, whichever tools you're using, it's going to check all your spacing. We just talked with a customer that had 5,000 volt traces on each board. So on the top layer uncovered, copper has to be 1 inch apart for 5,000 volts. Internal, it's like 1/2 inch apart. So you better plan and think that through and understand I got a big problem because my traces and parts and everything else have to be really, really far apart. Because I got 5,000 volts, you don't want sparks and things like that. So but the stack up has to be thought through beginning, middle, and end. Confirm it's perfect at the end, and then realize that the fab house is going to tweak the width of those copper traces a little bit to get the controlled impedances back in. Speaking, just a helpful hint, if you have a board you really care about the controlled impedances are plus or minus 10%. But if you have really high speed and a couple of other things and you want them better than that, we can actually build a first article board. So we'll build a board that has just enough to verify the 100 ohm traces are 100 ohms. And then we'll tweak the stack up and stuff accordingly so we can get plus or minus 3, plus or minus 5, much better traces. And materials make a difference too, and that's part of the stack up too. Which materials you're using, what requires, a whole bunch of things. So you're going to outer space, that's different material. So stack ups are tricky, but yeah, do understand them. And good luck.
Okay, so now for people who are still listening, why should they come to Sierra Circuits for their stack up design?
Because we're the best. Is that the right answer? Who knows? To do design or stack up or fabrication? Well, what I usually tell all my customers, we can fabricate anything. We're in the middle of Silicon Valley. We've been trained by all these little groups that want all this special stuff. So if anything's ever been tried, that type of stuff, we're pretty good at that. And so we've built boards with all kinds of special rules and everything else. That's fabrication. So you can come to us and just assume it's going to be done right. Same thing with assembly. We have a really good assembly house. So we're going to get the boards assembled, buying parts, all that stuff. So the design part, I've been doing it a long time, so that helps. But also one thing that really helps is if the customer's trying to reinvent the wheel and do something really weird, I can go talk to the fabrication people and say, can we do this? How do we build this? So we've had times, where there's castellated holes, via right on the edge of the board they cut for edge plating or whatever they're doing with it. But there's rules for castellating holes. Well, we were doing a board that was, less than 1/2 inch diameter. And needed a bunch of castellated holes, needed like 6 or 8 or something. So how close together can we get them? What are the issues? So a regular in-house designer or a service bureau would just throw something out and then they'd come to us and we'd say, no, that's not good enough, can't fabricate it. But we have the ability, because we work at Sierra Circuits, to take those issues over to the manufacturing team and say, how do you do this? How close can we put these things together? That kind of thing. So we get a lot of that stuff. And the same thing with the materials. If a customer needs some type of material or something, we don't know it because that's not our specialty of knowing everything that's out there. But we have people in the company that know a lot about materials. So we'll take them the problem, they'll come up with the answer for the materials and say, this is what you need to feed back to. So an in-house person doesn't have that access that we have access to, both the manufacturing company, us, and the assembly company, us, to ask questions. Yeah. So we work really, really hard at that. And I think Sierra Circuits' approach on how to verify that boards are manufacturable and assemblable. They don't manufacture a board and then hope it gets assembled. Yeah. Their process is to make sure it's manufacturable in the first place.
Thank you very much.
There you go.
See you next time.
See you next time. Episode what, 4?
No, it's going to be episode 3.
Oh, 3. I was getting ahead of myself.
Say bye.
Bye.